Amazing, amazing, amazing. I know you've been watching the show, and if you're watching the show on Omega TV UK, welcome, and make sure you're sharing this with your friends, your family, and everyone, because on here we really ignite greatness, and we have one great lady with us. So Mary, I always say we go back to Ancient of Days. You're going to tell me and tell all of us how this journey of being a nurse and a healthcare professional is started, but you being a woman that have gone through hell and back. I mean, when we say hell, you've gone through hell and back. Tell me some of the things. I know you had an abusive marriage, and you've even written a book about it. Tell me your journey through that and how you came out to be the woman that you are today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, it's the story, it's the background, it's something that I share. I never let anything else take that away from me, because it's about telling the people that you can go and live the life you love, regardless of your life journey. That was a very difficult time for me. Interestingly, on my birthday last month, a friend of mine was introducing me, and she said, "Oh, this is my sister. She's someone I can say, if you throw someone in a river, they either swim or drown. She swam, and she swam to the other side." And I always say that I've been able to do that because of the value added people in my life, like yourself and many other sister friends. It was very tough, especially because it happened in a Christian setting. So it sort of prolonged it, because you are looking at, what do I do? How do I do it? You pray, you fasted, and then you get to a point where, it's a stage where God says, do you know what? Till that God's part doesn't have to be through domestic violence. So I had to make that tough decision to take my children and leave.
Let's pause there, because domestic violence, I know we're talking about it. We have charities, we have people that are really creating the awareness, but still it's something that when it comes to our Christian setting, it's something that we still don't make that and that is when you on live TV, things happen, but we're still going.
Yeah.
When in the church setting, we don't talk about it. I'm sorry that I'm laughing, because those behind the scenes are making me laugh. They're enjoying our show.
Exactly.
We don't talk about it, and then we find out that people end up losing their lives. You played a major role in the church as well, and when this was going on, when I read your book, there were times that the husband, if will not beat you, was burning you with candles or lighters and stuff like that. What did you tell those that were the leadership, and what did they say to you, so that there's a woman out there, some men get abused, some young ladies get abused. What would you say when people are saying, oh, it's okay, oh, God will do it? What would you say to them?
The first thing is to note is that a victim will only leave when they are ready. So the best we can do is to create awareness, let them be aware of the situation, because not all abuse are violent or physical. It could be emotional, it could be psychological, it could be financial. Just to educate people and say, look, this is what it looks like. And that is the problem within our culture and religion. We never really showcase what it looks like. We tend to go to the extreme. And the thing is, domestic abuse can range from a look to a gunshot. So we tend to be silent on the in-betweens, the emotional, physical, financial, and all the rest of it. And so it's important to highlight these things so that people note the red flags, and they can then begin to make plans and then be conscious about it and make informed decision. And just support. All you can do is support people, especially when they've someone the courage to talk about it. A lot of people don't talk about it. Abusers are clever. Even when it's physical, they wouldn't hit you where it will show the whole world, unless it was an accident. So it's important to create that support system. And in my book, I dedicated a chapter to domestic abuse and the church.
And the name of the book?
Gifts, Roses and Bruises.
Gifts, Roses and Bruises.
And I shared my experience, other people's experience when we will gather. Sometimes we laugh about it. Sometimes when we're sharing our stories of abuse, and sometimes we comfort each other. But I think I was the vocal one. When I published my book, I was the first African Nigerian woman, a professional, to come up and say, hey, I've been through it. If you are in it, you can come out of it. You see, and it's not in your place to turn an abuser around, whether male or female. They have to own it. They have to acknowledge it. They have to be ready to seek help. So that's, all the things we can do as, people to support each other. And when it comes to the body of Christ, there's a lot of factors. Most men are, the biggest donors, or they hold important posts in church. And that's why sometimes they tend to cover it, thinking, oh, how will it look? There are lots of pastors' wives that time that are going through what I was going through. And, it's difficult, but it's important. Thankfully, some leaders are recognizing it, because most lives are lost in the body of Christ to abuse, sadly. And now it's being talked about, but not being talked about enough.
As we should talk about. So, if you are in a leader in any position that I think it needs to be talked more. We need to say it more. We need to voice it more, so that people will come out. And if you're being abused, we pray that you will have the courage to. So when did you? Because of course you had your boys, and now bless them, they are big men now and doing so well. When was the time that you said enough? I'm going, because obviously people will talk about it. You share that. Always you were, you had your designer bag. We have people who are all dapper, draped in glam, but you're going through stuff. Yeah. When did you say, I've had it, I'm out of the door?
Yeah. The other thing I always share is that people believe that they should stay in an abusive relationship because of the children. I say you should leave that relationship because of the children. Because it got to a stage that it was filtering down to my children. They were not being physically abused, but they were being brought into the situation. And when one of them asked me if daddy loves me or loved me, and as we do, I said yes. And he gave me 2-3 reasons why he didn't think so. And he was a young child. I thought, okay, is this the environment I wanted my children to grow up in? And so, it wasn't a full divorce at the beginning. It was a separation. Peradventure, this person will change, because I'm not God. So, and in the first year of that separation, it was clear that this person was not going to change, because even while we were apart, the psychological and emotional abuse didn't stop. So much so that as I speak, I don't listen to voicemails. Wow. Because when I pick my phone that time, I hear things that I cannot repeat on air. Wow. And it was constant, so it was clear anyway that it wasn't going to change. And that was when I had to make the decision, like, let's just make this permanent.
Wow. Well then, so you left, and then tell me how you're able to pick yourself up. And in all this, you were a nurse. So being a nurse, and that is one thing, and that's why my message, my mission is about empowering people, men, women, children, because in all of that, I didn't stop growing. I went to university twice. I became a specialist practitioner. I turn up. There are times I go from A&E to work. I was doing, my assignment. From A&E to work, what do you mean? From being beaten?
Yes, sort out my injury and go to work.
Wow.
And
wow.
So you call it resilience, call it being focused, call it something that I have to hold on to, because that is the thing. When you are in an abusive relationship, they take everything away from you. So you have to hold on to your mind and to yourself. And the other thing I didn't let go was my financial independence. Of course, that causes lots of problems. But I made sure I paid the bills, I did my bits with sorting the house out and everything. But handing over my pay slip or being stopped from doing what I want to do to grow, I refused to let go of that. And that was why I was able to have the courage eventually. It wasn't easy, and I didn't take it lightly, and I'm not like trivializing it, because it was hard, you know. But I was doing all of that. I was going to uni, I was, you know, raising my children, I was making progress. I was determined to just not let it weigh me down, because that's the thing. Once they get to you, and again, I refer to value-added people in my life, because sometimes the issue is they get rid of people around you, so you are alone. But there are some people that refuse to go.
But somebody is asking that before you date such a person, so that the young girls out there, those who are wanting to marry and go into long-term relationship, didn't you see all these red flags before you went into the marriage?
Yeah, so again, in that book, I spoke about tiny red flags. And the problem with tiny red flags is that we make excuses for them, okay? Because they're actually nothing that will stop you from moving on with this relationship, okay? And sometimes, again, religion, again, culture, and that's why I say it's important to create education and awareness so that people will learn from what we missed at the beginning.
Yes.
Okay, so when you see the tiny red flags, sometimes you think, you ask yourself, is this enough to destroy this relationship or to move on? And the other thing with abusers is that when they do that thing for which you are still struggling to decide, they come to you, they cry, they beg, they blame, you know, the earth and its mother. And then you fast and you pray together, especially if you are Christians, and the brethren and brothers pray and fast with you. And the thing is, I mean, we had counseling. I was going to a church at that time where if you do not have at least 8 weeks counseling together, individually, it's like a Bible school. You are not allowed to be married.
Wow.
And we had all of that. And I mean, and it was okay, right? But towards the end, after all of that, I started seeing some things. But then, like I said, there are external influences that will make you think, okay, maybe
It shall be well.
And then there's something called the cycle of abuse. So there's always a time called the honeymoon period where there'll be nothing at all. It will be the best thing after sliced bread. Everybody looking at you will be thinking, oh, I wish my relationship, courtship, marriage is like this one's, right? And even you in yourself, you forget that you're in an abusive relationship because everything will fizzle away. It will be okay. And then
change.
it will start again. The cycle will start again. It may be with something you didn't do, and then it will be maybe snapping, then it will escalate, and then it will come to the I'm sorry, I'm crying period, and then you have an honeymoon period.
And then it starts again.
It starts again. Now,
Wow.
and here's the problem. There could be a gap of 2 years, a day, 3 days, 3 weeks between each cycle. So that's one of the things that keeps people in the relationship for longer. But when it's like constantly violent or constantly emotional, constantly psychological, you tend to wake up faster.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see. Wow. So if you're watching and you know somebody who is in an abusive relationship, or you are in an abusive relationship, please seek help, because it's so important. This wonderful show is brought to you courtesy of Lechi Organics. So we are on the bigger dreams journey, but you know, everybody has a story. You have a story, I have a story, Mary has a story, and throughout she has come out and built should I say £1 million empire. Yes, you know, we speaking it out.
Yes.
So So you finished school. You've been a nurse for how many years now?
Over 40 years.
Wow. We bow to you. Over 40 years. Tell me about being a nurse, because you always put not just a nurse.
Yeah, not just a nurse, yeah. Because, and again, I think I'm just on a mission with all my, social entrepreneurship and things like that. And the idea behind it, that hashtag, is to let my colleagues know that you can reach the moon, you can achieve whatever you set your mind to do. Because until very recently, nurses are not really acknowledged for what they do and how they do, and the value that they bring to the multidisciplinary team. But that is changing, and I'm glad, and I'm happy that I'm one of those people with lots of other nurses globally that are changing the narrative. So in all of that, because I focused on my job, I found myself being keen on keyhole surgery like 30 years ago when it was just coming up, because it was hard coming from open surgery to doing procedure from 3-4 tiny holes. And so what used to be 3 hours would take 7 hours and things like that. Then we moved to integrated, then we moved to artificial intelligence. Now we're in robots.
Okay. So slow down for us, because now I'm taking my mind to the hospital, walking into the hospital. But was that your dream? I want to make that clear. That was from childhood you wanted to be a nurse?
Yeah, from childhood I wanted to be a nurse. I had the best aggregate in my year in secondary school. I'm what we call all-rounder. And actually, initially, some of the teachers refused to speak to me when I chose to go to the School of Nursing rather than go to the university, because they felt, what a waste. She's this, da, da, da. But my mom just felt, okay, let's see how that pans out. And this is because my auntie, who was a nurse, I saw a very nice picture with a starched apron in my grandmother's living room. And as a child, I look at that picture and I say, one day I'm going to wear that. One day I'm going to have that cap. And, but let's say I've gone roundabout to being a nurse, to being an advocate, transforming health, specialist practitioner. And here we are. I hope those teachers are proud of me now.
Of course. You see, it's sad that sometimes our teachers don't see the greatness in us. But if you see the greatness in yourself, then obviously. And I remember when once, you see nurses with the attire and the apron, and it was green. I don't know whether in Nigeria was it green.
No, it was I think it was pink with white apron, because that was our student nurses uniform. And then you move on to the white and stripe, and that time they were at par with the UK. So most of the uniforms were, whatever is going on in the UK is going on in the teaching hospitals in Nigeria.
So, I wanted to clarify that, because some people, of course, they wanted you to go to uni, but you chose this profession, and that was your dream, because we are on the bigger dreams, and people are sitting, and we don't want you to waste your life away. We don't want you to, regret on the last day on your bed and say, oh, how I wish. So whatever that you wanted to do, revisit again. And I hope that at the end of the day, you're going to do something with your dreams and help your children also do that, help your spouse do that, So tell me about this keyhole surgery, because not all of us, understand this hospital term. So how is it like?
Yeah, so in the past, when you go to the hospital for surgery, you have an open incision. It could be small, it could be big, depending on the surgical procedure. And then you stay like a week plus, depending on the procedure in the hospital. Then as things moved on and we get to keyhole, what we now do is make tiny incisions, put in a camera, look through the screen and inside, and all the instruments are tiny as well. They fit through little ports and do the same procedure. And they do anything.
Wow.
Neurosurgery, cardiac surgery, general surgery, anything at all.
So they don't cut you open like they used to?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. If need be, they will. But the purpose, once you come for keyhole surgery, the purpose, the plan and everything will be to do it through that way and end it through that way. And now we have robots doing some of that.
No, hold on. Robot. When you say a robot is going to operate on me.
Okay, we stop here because it will be too complex.
Okay,
it's not like the robots are walking around, but it's like what we used to do. Like in my role at that time, you hold the camera, you hold the instrument, you do this. Then we have attachments to those instruments now, and somebody sits in the console, the senior consultant, and they control it from there, and you just support it from there.
Okay,
so
we are going to follow you with the camera to the one of these days, because so they do that. And then you did mention about AI. So what's this artificial whatever, so what's going on in the health industry with that?
Okay, so like part of what we do at Zenith just before COVID, and this became really popular through COVID. So we do some recordings of what goes on just for teaching and training, and students can put on the headset and see what goes on and learn about it before they come to the surgical area or clinics or the ward and things like that. And that is the educational aspect of it. And sometimes you do it in simulation scenario. And then there are so many things with this artificial intelligence that we cannot cover now, because it spans across every area, from imaging to physiotherapy. You can sit in your homes now and do your exercises, and there's a lot. It's a lot that, I can't even sit here and break down.
Yeah, tell us some, because we are learning.
But to say that you have the assistance to be able to do things in your comfort zone, like in your home, rather than go out to do it.
Okay, so let's break it down. So let's say somebody, the physio bit, instead of going to maybe A&E or going to see your consultant, or you sit at home and then you go on video.
Yeah. So you go on video. It may be pre-recorded exercises. It may be you have prompts, and the prompts might be saying walk a mile, raise your hands, raise your legs. You're doing that, and you're actually seeing yourself doing it as the avatar or whatever.
It's teaching me. And maybe you have to we should have brought that to the studio for you to show us how to do it.
Don't worry. One of these days I'll come with some of my colleagues in the industry, and we'll bring you little clips of what we're talking about. It will be more explanatory, isn't it?
Wow.
Because now it's like you're trying to imagine and thinking, what is she chatting about?
Yes, because we will get the links and put it out there for you to have a look at that. So I know COVID taught us a lot of stuff, and you being a nurse at that time, what did you have to go through? What did you go through psychologically, and also helping other people?
It was hard. It was hard because no one day was the same. You never know what you're going to be faced with. You never know what's going to happen, and it was just hard. And psychologically, sometimes you see patients and it's like, listen, do this, and it's not that they don't want to do it, but they couldn't do it, and you couldn't do it for them. So that even makes it, harder. And then at a point, I was out of the clinical area and doing some studies, research to support the system. And I don't know which is harder, the clinical area or that one, because then you hear stories that sometimes you put the phone down and you start crying yourself. And even the things that we see, sometimes it's difficult to analyze or explain. But the only thing I can say is that we do not pray for another COVID. But if we have any health issues where we are being given instructions or what to do or things to do, it's vital that we do it, and do it in good time to avoid everything that happened the last time.
So you being a nurse, how do you debrief somebody? You say, how do you, when you come out of the surgery or you walk out of the car park, how do you just breathe and say, okay, do
Yeah,
you leave it there or you take it home?
It depends actually, and interestingly, it's good you should ask that question, because that wasn't something that was commonplace in healthcare. But in recent times, it's been discovered and realized that the mental health and well-being of healthcare professionals are so fragile, more fragile, because in training, medicine, nursing, they teach us to be empathic. And because of that, we sometimes suppress our own feelings, and it takes you away from sharing your emotions and things like that. So sometimes, actually now it's required by law that you debrief. But the debrief I'm talking about is focused more on patient and patient safety than you in the team. So sometimes what we do, again, time factor. If you are scheduled to finish at 6, you finish at 8. That's not the time you want to be saying, so how do you feel? So how do you want tea, coffee? No, I just want my bed. You know. So, but if you have the time, you can sit together or even stand. We try to, even if it's 5 minutes, to say, oh, today went really well. Well done, ladies and gentlemen. That was great. Thank you. And then we have a little bit of banter and things like that, you know. Unless there's a major incident, you know, we don't really have an official sit down, let's debrief. I worked in the prison briefly, and even if you accompany a prisoner from one block to the other, you all gather in a room, you have your tea, coffee, and then you have a proper debrief. Actually, you stop like every 5 minutes between the block to speak to the person, to look at yourself and say, are you okay? Are you comfortable?
The prisoner or yourself?
Yeah, the prisoner and yourself.
You're asking the prisoner?
Yeah, you ask them. Wow. Yeah, because you have to deliver them to the next block, hail-hearty, as you pick them from the other block.
Wow.
So, but when you finish, when the handover is completed, then you all sit down in a room, you talk about it, which I find to be fantastic, because, I mean, that's nothing compared with having a 9-10 hour of going. And I believe, you know, there's work around it going on, and somehow we'll be able to make it more structured and, you know, incorporated into the system.
Well done, you. I mean, you see, so sometimes we see them, they're going, and sometimes they want the pay rise, and we are saying they're going on strike. And, you know, well done. And shout out to all the nurses and everyone that is working in the health sector. We take our cup off for you, and we salute you. Then we see you traveling the world. You're sharing the wealth that you've got now to the other parts, especially Africa. How did that come about?
Yeah, so I trained in Nigeria. By the time I got here, I was already a nursing sister, and I had to start again as a third-year student, and then work my way up. So I know firsthand how it is back home. It was even great when we were there, and now it's something different. But what I do not lose sight of is the level of talent, skills, and knowledge across Africa. And I've been fortunate, actually, because I've got people in my network. I keep talking about value-added people who saw the potentials in me, the resilience, the hard work, and will just say, we need you. So for about 15 years now, I've been involved in transforming health in Africa. So we do teaching, training as a group, and sometimes I do that as an individual for groups, both private, public institutions, and or part of a consortium. And then in my role at the forefront of innovation in my workplace, we had what we call master classes. And again, I had leaders, consultants, professors who would take my hand and say, Mary, let's do this together. And people will come from all over the world, and we teach, train, show them. And from talking to them, from sometimes visiting their institutions, you see that it can happen. It's just that there are a few things that we need to do, like knowledge sharing, benchmarking, like maybe equipment and things like that. So that opportunity, having that opportunity gave me the courage to go to different parts of Africa and say, you know, we can do this, let's do this. And then bring them here as well to, you know, like form a partnership or support. Yeah.
Fantastic. But so in all that, Zenith Health Global came about.
Yes.
How did that birth?
Yes. So one of the busiest years. So I've been observing, and when I wrote my book, right, you know, I said I was like first in that system. So I begin to have TV interviews, radio interviews, newspaper interviews, and I was doing the women empowerment as well, both here and in Africa. And then one day I stopped. I said, wait, I've been in healthcare for that time, maybe over 20 years. And I wrote this one book. And now I'm being invited to red carpet.
This one book. What happened? It's a powerful book.
It's a powerful book.
Yeah.
And the sequence are on the way. But I just felt to myself that, okay, so this is what happens in literary world. How about in the healthcare world? I've seen enough. I've seen some amazing people that, and again, I go back to how we are trained and brought up, if you like, to just serve and give and commit and not ask for anything in return. And because of that, we tend to be overlooked and not acknowledged as we should be. So I call, you know, a few of my colleagues and people that I trust, you know, thought leaders, and I said, you know what, we're doing this. And we're doing this teaching and training, and in all of that, we are seeing people coming out doing great things. Sometimes you just do few sessions, and all you need to do is to mentor and support, and people are establishing great things across Africa, here, and, you know, globally. Why don't we, in our teaching, training, mentoring, capacity building, start to acknowledge and celebrate people? A, we will showcase what we do. B, people will know more about what is possible, not just in surgery, but in primary care, in pediatrics, in everything. And they looked and said, oh, okay, that's good. We know we can't stop you once you set your mind on it anyway. So, and they said, so well, how do you want to go about? I said to be global. What do you mean global? I said global. So it's like, okay, Mary, we are here to support you. And I'm so grateful to them. Since 2016, I can still call on any of them, right? Wow. And say, this is what we're doing, this is what we are going through. And they say, you know what? We may not see you, speak to you every day, but we are watching you. You're doing great, and we are here. How can we help? You know? So that was how Zenith Global Health came about. And it was the busiest year. 2016, I was in and out like every 3 weeks. And we've been talking about it before then, maybe 2 years before. But we just felt, okay, let's do it now.
And so it's Zenith
Global
Health.
Yeah.
Zenith Global Health. So now it's all over the world. It's in Africa. You're global. You know, the bigger dreams again. The bigger dreams. You know, there's something you're thinking about and you keep postponing. And you're not sharing with the right people. It's very important to share your dream with the right people, right? Because then they will push you, they will help you. No, sometimes we don't want the people who says, okay, we are watching you, but they're not doing anything. So be mindful of who you are sharing your dream with, because if you want it to happen, it's there. You don't want to leave this planet, go, you get to heaven, and it was written that you were supposed to be this president. Because Mary is the president, right? The CEO of the president of Global Zenith Global Health.
Yeah.
So you might be the president, but you're not doing something about it. And it's important that you do something about what you have been postponing for the last, God knows. It's so important. But Mary, somebody will say, oh, she's had it easy. Yeah. What are some of the challenges you've had along the journey?
Yeah, it's great. I call myself a parent because that because that word, I mean, once they throw it at you, is a label. You know the one I mean. So I tend to call myself a parent. So being a parent and being on a mission to support with people at the center of it, and also be strong, has been really difficult. there was a time when we had opportunity for counseling, and they tell me, your children can have X number of hours, you can have X number of hours. I said, just put all the hours together and give the children, and
Wow.
I'll sort myself out. However, maybe I'll cry for the first 10 minutes in the morning, and then I put on my thing and, go for it. And doing that, the other side to that is that even when all of that was happening, because of the way I carry myself, it took a while for people to know I work. My manager knew in good time because she had a taste of it somehow, verbally. And she said, oh my God, that's what's happening. People make life difficult for you because they see you have it together. So that didn't help either. Financially, it was difficult. And I had to quickly become my own financial advisor. I research about saving, I research about credit cards, I research about, mortgage, how to, overcome that and sort it out in good time, about saving for the student university education while they are in like year 10 or so that by the time they are ready. And then don't forget, they are boys. And again, we've been lucky. We've got super role models for these boys, for which I'm very grateful, And then you have to support them as well, guide them. So finding the balance was difficult. How do I put food on the table, be there for the children, and then pursue my own dreams? So it was difficult. And so at a point, then of course, they became adults. And then, it became easier, and then I was able to, but it was hard.
It was hard, but you overcame it.
Yes.
You are an overcomer.
Yes.
And also being a president for this wonderful institution, of course, you have to put programs together. You're flying the world, you're doing this. How do you then combine that with even though it's central around what you do? How are you able to, and still look beautiful?
Thank you. Somebody saw me the other day. I said, oh, you haven't changed your... I said, I must be one of the people who thrive on stress.
It's the Holy Ghost fire.
Yeah, so it's grace. It's grace.
It's great.
Yeah. Because, sometimes... And, okay, let's go to trusting God now.
Yeah.
Right. And that is very key. That is very important. Even if you are not a Christian, trust something, okay? Yeah. But as a child of God, and it's difficult to trust God, but it's doable. I always say that. Because it will come to a stage where you think, what am I doing? Who sent me a message? But at that point, it will show up for you. And as an entrepreneur, no 24 hours is the same. You have the high, medium, low, high. But there's somebody you can always go to when it's high or low or medium and say, hey, remember what you said, okay? And so I'm here to claim that, and acknowledge it. So sometimes I find out that I have to slow down, look at myself, which is, again, difficult to do because even when you think you are sleeping, you wake up and think, make a note, I'll do it when I wake up, and that will be it. You are awake, But it's important to find that balance and also to acknowledge what you can do, what you cannot do. Identify the people who are your real cheerleaders, because there's a difference between people clapping for you and people clapping for you. Right. Okay, there are people who are there for you, like as pillars. And there are people who just want, to be seen as cheering you on. And we thank all of them. It's very important. We need cheerleaders.
Fantastic. So, Mary, where can we find you? Where can we find all that you do?
Yeah, so you can find us on www.zeniglobalhealth.com. You can follow me on Twitter, Glowing Future. You can follow Zenith Global Health on all the platforms, and there you find out what we do in the UK and in Africa, especially on our social media platform. The website is limited. We try to put as much as we can in there, but most of the time we showcase what we do across our platform, And also when we have the seminars, the webinars, we promote them as well. And not all of them are strictly for healthcare professionals. We make it possible so that members of public can join and learn as well, especially when we talk about issues like cancer, like obesity, bariatric, and different aspects of life like that, both communicable and non-communicable.
Fantastic.
Mental health.
I hope you have enjoyed our conversation. If there's one thing you want to tell a mother out there who is not living their dream, what would you say?
Well, what I would say is that you should think carefully about your why. Once you have your why, it's easy to build around it. And you'll be amazed at how much support you have from the children. Because I remember I was talking to the boys one time and I said, and they said, "Oh, Mom, we know it's only a matter of when, not if." I went, "Oh, okay." So I learned a lot. I'm still learning from those boys, and there's a lot we can learn from our children as well. But most important, be clear about your why and put things in place, to move you there.
Oh, thank you. I hope you've enjoyed our conversation. Make sure you're tuning in next Sunday. We have another awesome guest for you on Omega TV UK. This program was sponsored by Alechi Organics, and we are thankful to them. Have a wonderful Sunday, and I'll see you soon. God bless. Bye.
London, it's about to go down.
We are about to enter the 7th edition of Tabia Ghana Music Awards UK. Date Saturday, October 7th, 2023. Venue Royal Regency Manor Park, London. Time red carpet begins at 7 p.m. sharp.
Showtime is 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. British time.
Guest performances from the president of the SM family, Shatta Wale. Also performing episode Bessie Esther, Guru, Kofi Inti, Robina, Charles Kala, SC, Ghanaian UK-based artists and more. Rate VVIP £80, VIP £60, and standard £40. Grab their tickets now.
Tickets on sale at www.gmaduk.co.uk.
Sponsors: Tabia Company Limited, producers of Tabia Takum and Jacka 4 Bitters,
Labadi Beach Hotel,
Adonko Bitters,
Remit Choice Money Transfer,
TSF Lighting,
Combile Logistics, Ipcos Enterprise Limited, Shaxi,
Mip Live Records,
Logi Entertainment.
Proudly brought to you by Lawson Heber, producers of the Rayman Bitters and Delay Capsule, media partners Omega TV UK, powered by Alodia Promotions and West Coast UK. The 7th edition of Tabia Ghana Music Awards UK, live from Manor Park, London.
London, it's about to go down.
We are about to enter the 7th edition.